Good evening. My name is Christopher Yermel, Vice Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission for the City of Wilmington, and I think all we're doing tonight is just doing the annual report, but I would ask commissioners to introduce themselves that are here.
Ashley Wilson.
Ross Tomaselli.
And we will go straight to the annual report by staff.
Can I get you to approve the minutes real quick?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I second.
I third. Yay.
They're good. Okay. Minutes are so approved from last month.
Sorry, I've started laughing, so now I can't stop. Okay. During the 2023 fiscal. Sorry.
I used to be real good at that in high school. You got it.
During the 2023 fiscal year, which ran from July. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Okay. During the 2023 fiscal year, which ran from July of 2022 to June of 2023, the Commission reviewed 51 cases. The majority were exterior alterations, including facade alterations related to window and door location changes and porch modifications. In second came new construction, followed by changes in paint color and door and window replacements. The lowest number of cases were for landscaping and roof replacements. Also, 5 applications were withdrawn and 9 were denied. Jessica Baldwin and myself reviewed a total of 269 bypass applications, which is 62 more than the previous year. The majority of bypass applications were for minor exterior alterations, which includes in-kind window and door replacements, followed by landscaping or site alterations. Projects under the other category included requests such as a stage speaker system at the Greenfield Lake Historic Landmark. Here you can see a quick glance at the 10-year historic trends of major and minor works COAs issued. The number of cases reviewed by the HPC varies a small amount, but tends to trend around 50 a year. Commissioners will also notice that the bypass applications fluctuate, though overall they have slowly been trending upwards. This year has seen a major increase compared to the previous. As an example of the projects HPC has approved in the last fiscal year, on the screen you will see the completed single-family dwelling located at 112 North 8th Street in the north side of the HDR. HPC approved this project back in March 2023. Currently under construction is the renovation of and the addition to 710 Walnut Street, which was also located in the north side of the HDR. HPC approved this project back in December of 2022. Zoning enforcement is monitoring 42 demolition by neglect cases. This is lower than last year, and staff continues to work with outside organizations and homeowners to see the DBN list decrease. As an example of the success of our joint efforts with the Historic Wilmington Foundation, 505 Ann Street, pictured here, received a new roof and exterior paint job, removing it from the DBN list. Pictured here are 7 of the 9 locally designated landmarks. Annual inspections occurs for 3 of the landmarks. Those are the Chestnut Street Presbyterian Church, Effords Einstein's department store, and former fire station number 5. These landmarks have interior features that are part of their designation, which is why the annual inspection occurs. The past fiscal year, we're able to designate 2 new local landmarks. Both Dr. Herbert Eaton Sr.'s residence and the Gilbum Lodge Number 2 are exceptionally significant to the history of Black Wilmingtonians. And that's the end of the report.
Any questions of staff?
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
All right. So, as you found on your desk, there is, as you found on in your packets there are draft reports of the design standards update. I just want to have a quick conversation with you guys and be able to kind of give you inform of the timeline, highlight some high points, and and let you know about like public commentary. So you'll notice that in the draft there are some typo errors and some photo errors, some things like that. We've already started to work with the consultants to get those things fixed. I don't want you guys to waste time looking at commas. I want to make sure y'all are focused on the big stuff, so I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up on that. You'll see in the first couple of sections that the style pages have been kind of modified to make them more user-friendly with the kind of images that highlight, label, and highlight architectural details and things of that nature. You'll also may notice that we've removed the antebellum style and given it the proper name. That's not common. Antebellum's not a common practice word within architectural historians. We've also added a style called folk Victorian, which is referred to a lot of vernacular Victorian era styles throughout with architectural historians as well. That page will be added. Myself and staff is currently working on a revised development history of the city of Wilmington that hopefully will be a little more clear and a little more inclusive as well. We are also providing, currently the way it works is there's an overview, the styles are kind of stuck in the middle, and then there's like a wrap up of the development history at the end that includes Historic Wilmington. So we have given Historic Wilmington a spread so that they can further identify how the city and the city's design standards are separate from, and regulations are separate from the things that they do. And then you'll notice that there's some charts. These charts are hopefully going to be real cool. I'm hoping that they provide some strong clarity for residents in the community. There's the certificate of appropriateness charts that allow people to go, oh, I'm going to replace my roofing material with the same roofing material. What kind of COA does that require? And they can look at this chart and see, and then work to fill out the proper forms without too much confusion. There's been a lot of question within our office if we like the block colored as it is now, or if you want a check mark or X. I would suggest you think about that and provide your opinion. I don't have a preference. But there has been a lot of back and forth. I did highlight one. You will notice that I am desperately trying to get rid of us regulating paint color. You are all entitled to your opinion of that, and you feel free to let me know. My thought behind it is that it consumes a lot of staff time. No one's painting their house anything egregious. We don't regulate it in the overlay districts already. And it would just really give us time to focus on some like fundamental community issues and work with preservation, things happening throughout the community more so than just saying yes to paint colors all the time. Plus, I think we all know paint's pretty temporary in these parts and you're gonna have to repaint it at some point. So even if somebody paints something we don't like, it'll be painted again in a couple of years. Then you also see there's a set of charts about materials. And you'll see that they're labeled about what's permitted, what's a maybe, and what's prohibited. Feel free to mark them up however you want to get that information back to me, but I think that this is also helpful in kind of helping people understand what's allowed when they go to design an addition or a new building. And then I'm just going to highlight a few sections where we made some strong clarifications and kind of added some standards. You'll see here in the section 2.3 fences and walls, we changed some of the language to be more clear in terms of what land development code says, as well as providing some of these images with big X's about what's not appropriate and check marks, green check marks about what is appropriate. Then we looked at windows and doors. Some of these standards just address like double pane glass windows, appropriate infill, and then how best to replace non-historic windows. There's also, you guys have a memo that has all of these things highlighted specifically, so it might be a little easier afterwards. Then we also, within the windows and doors, there's some additional with the check marks and X's about what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. None of the inappropriate things are pulled from our neighborhood, so nobody will be offended with their house. You can see too, I've done a few new drawings and that type of thing. And then in chapter 4, it's really about additions and new construction. So you'll see here again with the kind of clear visuals about what's okay, what's not okay. If you don't think one of those is okay or not okay, always feel free to let me know. All of these standards are very much about what's best practices and a lot of other benchmark communities are using. For new buildings, the standards broke up a little easier into lot building and lot siting, as well as then building design. So we've added a bunch of standards that just really, and kind of just broken up some of the standards that were already there. One, because that makes people easier to read. You don't get bored reading through, and there's like multiple little hidden things within there. It also like helps clarify lot dimensions and some things like that that seem to come up a lot. And like I said, like grouping them together allows people to go, oh, okay, well I start here and then I move here versus trying to kind of find a standard that may have been tucked in another location. So this is our timeline. We had the second RFP went out the middle of January. We had community outreach in May. Staff has already reviewed this once and made some changes before we brought it to you guys. We had a community outreach meeting last night at Residents of Old Wilmington and kind of just talked about some of the same things I did in terms of, with you guys in terms of like taking away paint color, and then left them with some copies of those charts as well. And then our goal is to have I'm going to have the draft report, draft standards and the draft charts available online with a comment box up from starting tomorrow through November 2nd, or November 6th rather, to allow anyone from the community the opportunity to look through and be able to just kind of really sit with them and read, because sometimes it takes a little time. And then my goal is to have you guys vote on it in December, the December meeting, and then take it to council in January. That's it. Y'all got any questions?
Yeah, amazing work. It's great. I think it's going to be a lot more user-friendly, but I have to say that whenever we have someone come in front of the commission with an after the fact, they never say, well, the design standard wasn't clear enough. They say, I didn't know in the first place. And I wonder, is there, like, can you just highlight, like, what steps are taken with real estate board? It seems like obviously when someone purchases something in one of the districts, there should be some way to convey that they are indeed in a district, and they don't have that as an excuse that they didn't know,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that after the facts are probably the most frustrating thing about the job. I would say that we work with Historic Wilmington Foundation to participate in the real estate course that they run with the Cape Fear Realtors. We have budgeted for more like postcards to go out to the community on a consistent basis. I am trying to do things like attend row meetings and like be that kind of thing. I feel like at the desk with bypass applications, there's less after the fact than there's been. You know, there's always going to be some people, but yeah, we continue to really push that forward and try to make sure that those are things. I don't, you know, some realtors are just better than others.
Well, I will say that many, some of the past few, they have purchased the house because it was such a tight market, and they knew that, like, the windows needed replacing or this needed replacing, and they bought the house anyway because it had been inspected and they said it would have to be replaced, et cetera, and thought that maybe we would just, they could slide on by us, and we, you know, we're not going to do it, you know,
Absolutely.
and.
I'm just gonna get a cardboard sign, no vinyl windows. I'll just
Yeah.
hold it
Well,
up when they come in.
you know, I mean, or different, you know, things of, you know, hardship. We did this and we knew it was, but we thought we could do this. And, you know, it's buyer beware, but most that I have seen have gotten inspections and knew what they were getting into, I would think. But a lot of them don't.
Yeah, I
And-
think there's
yeah.
just people that don't care, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's just some people that, and I think that in previous years, there's been a general, well, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. And Megan and myself have worked very hard to try to change that around and get permits out quickly and really help people through the process as best we can. And I think you can start to see a little bit of that change, but it's just slow, and I think it takes time. But I think people have a lot of PTSD from previous experiences too, and so that is, I do feel like some of them now are a little easier, and then you're always going to have people that just do what they want. But we're trying.
Yeah, I think the more we can highlight it and make it obvious that they should be aware of this stuff, because a lot of the times they come up here and there's like a sob story or they're asking for sympathy with an after the fact. The more we can get out in front of them, the harder it is for them to do that. I know with listing a house, you have to do residential disclosures, and that's all on a state level. But I do wonder if there was some way from a local realtor's like perspective or level that, you know, if houses are listed in the historic district, there's a pamphlet that goes out that's at the property when people come and look at it. So there's no way around. There's not really a, oh, I didn't know, if that makes sense.
Right, and that's a realtor thing, you know, like, as we do what we can in that regard, and anytime a realtor calls, we immediately answer those calls and answer any questions that we can, but like, that ultimately falls on the responsibility of the realtor, and we have the materials available and we share them. I know that the Cape Fear Realtor organization has some of our materials themselves. Historic Wilmington Foundation has some of those materials. Historic Wilmington Foundation sends calls to us all the time, right? Like, we're really trying as like a larger community to really get that out there, but it does ultimately fall on the realtor, and I just can't make people.
Yeah.
You know, as listing agents, a lot of time, and especially in buyer agents, we can't control who's a buyer agent is, and a lot of times they're out of the.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
I do think the classes, we've had 2 of them with ourselves and Historic Wilmington Foundation and the Cape Fear Realtors, and I've noticed an uptick in realtor phone calls and things of that nature from those, so I think those are really beneficial. In terms of like getting the new update and things like that out, we will see that like it is posted where it can be and advertised and all that kind of jazz as well.
I think y'all have done an incredible job with
Totally.
that. I mean, it was like, when we first came here, it was like in the dark, and, you know, it's into the light now. And,
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're trying. It's an uphill battle.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, is there any changes with off-street parking or stormwater regulations in here? Or
That's all land development code, that is without our purview.
So we're just staying out of that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
that's- I
not
didn't know if they
touching
threw
that with a
anything in or-
10-foot pole.
Okay.
I will be honest. I don't have stormwater knowledge, and that, they don't teach us that in preservation school, so I'm not going there. And if you want my opinion about parking, we can speak after the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Do you want us to like to check or make little marks on these things and send them back to you, or is that the plan? Or a little
yeah,
co-
you have till November 6th. However you best feel to get that information back to me is fine. If you want to make a bullet pointed email, if you want to mark that up and return it to me, that's totally fine. Whatever
Okay.
method works best for you. Megan and I are going to be sorting through a lot of that, I think, in the coming weeks. So we'll take it however is easiest to get.
All right, I'll just scan.
And I have one more question for you, Jessica, about the areas of the historic districts, the boundaries of the historic districts.
Okay.
Hasn't there been some movement? I know the city funded, right? They voted to fund some study on enlarging the districts, is that right?
No, the only city funding that we currently have is to survey the current district, 6 of the
okay.
8 current districts, which we are waiting on state offices to give. There's like a whole process of getting the data. It's like such a government thing. But we are trying to get that so that we can begin that in the coming summer. But as far as like expansion or things like in local districts, that is not, no one's spoken to me about that.
Okay.
I actually had a guy at Row last night approach me, but that's it. But it was just kind of conversation. There's no one's formally come and mentioned anything along those lines.
Okay. Anything else? Any items from the commission?
Mr. Yerma, we were going to open this item up to public comment if anyone would wish to speak. We're trying to get as much public input as possible at both this hearing, at the Row meeting last night, at our next meeting in December.
Public comment on the design standard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, open it up to the public in case anyone wants to comment on the design standards. Seeing no speakers, I think we understand.
Travis Publix, okay.
We'll close that public comment portion. Any items from commission? Then I move that we, what am I trying to say? Adjourn. Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.